Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor, and today we're going to be showing off my bolter, the exotic rounds you can use with it, and their effects on target. I want to give a deep and heartfelt thank you to Emax Tactical for providing our exotic ammunition. Emax Tactical is not a paid sponsor, but I did buy my ammunition from them, and I am shouting them out just because they make a fantastic product. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to help me with more science fiction weapons in the future, or if you want the STLs for our current projects, then please join us at patreon.com/counterpoints. A quick overview of the video in case you're looking for something in particular. You just watched effectively a music video of me blowing stuff up. I'm going to break down the lore and technology of the bolter, bolts, the rounds I use today, and targets I use for this video, and then at the end I'll just have the video of me shooting stuff. Apparently for my last video there were some people who just wanted to hear the ring of steel and the sound of explosions to rock them to sleep at night. If you want a deeper dive into the origins of the bolter, be sure to check out my I Made a Bolter video, but for a brief history, here we go. Humanity conquered the stars but found it wasn't alone. As it encountered hostile races, it needed to update its equipment to deal with the threats it encountered. Examples of developments include explosive ammunition found in the M41A pulse rifle and the larger weapons needed to take out the Na'vi. During the Bug Wars, troops found that standard-issued assault rifles just weren't enough, and they needed something bigger and badder to take on massive arachnids. The earliest wildly fielded bolter was the JAR 5 Dominator, firing a propellant-ignition, jet-assisted, delayed explosive round that helped penetrate the target and then detonate inside, causing catastrophic damage. Troops found that these weapons were also effective against hard targets like the automatons, an early transhuman cult of cyborgs. Many threats in the galaxy were larger, faster, and stronger than the average human warrior, and so humanity began experimenting with various technologies to keep up. Mechanical walkers evolved into battle mechs, titans, and eventually knights. Exoskeletons and mobility suits evolved into power armor and jump packs, and to augment the durability of warriors, humanity began experimenting with ceramic metal alloys and power shielding. Humanity also experimented with genetic modification to make warriors faster, stronger, smarter, larger, and more durable. As power armor complexified, the ability to use a weapon with a stock decreased as it would bump off the various protective layers, ammo pouches, and oddly angled equipment mounted on power armored warriors. Humanity began building weapons without stocks that transhuman warriors would aim with their strength, targeting mechanisms, and instincts. In the 40th millennium, most standard template construct designs had bolters without stocks, and so even if you're a normal human, it's common to wield one firing from the hip or the cheek. Which brings us to bolts. It seemed like everyone and their mom commented on the last bolter video, okay, where's the jet-assisted rounds? Where's the explosive rounds? Do you have explosive rounds though? Which was incredibly annoying, because I included footage from the channel Tauflatermoss in the first minute of the previous introduction, and most people are aware of Frag 12 rounds. For this video, I was able to procure special issue ammunition through Emax Tactical. This doesn't even account for the South African Neopup, Chinese sniper grenade launchers, or the recently produced Barrett 30mm semi-auto grenade launcher. Now, of course, if you want to help support me in building not just science fiction weapons, but also being able to afford the ammo, I suggest you join the Patreon linked in the description, but let's break down bolts, how they work, and how the ammo I use today works. Bolts have an initial propellant similar to a conventional firearm. This is to get the round moving, but also to make sure it's lethal at close ranges where the jets may not have had time to activate. Once in the air, the rocket will activate, giving the round more energy as it travels and help push past the armor of the target. Common bolts are delayed explosive, meaning that a switch activates once it strikes the target, but there is a momentary delay between contact and explosion to maximize internal damage. In our current era, pure gyrojet weapons are less accurate than conventional rifles. Also, people have manufactured rocket-assisted slugs, but it looks like the rocket propulsion knocks the projectile slightly off course while providing a minimal amount of additional energy. Also, people have created delayed explosive grenades and contact explosive slugs. Unfortunately, at this time, the only people who have access to delayed explosive grenade rounds are governments. What is available to civilians in the United States are contact explosive rounds with an explosive charge small enough that they do not need to be registered as destructive devices. These rounds have a hollow cavity filled with black powder. Facing the target is a nail gun or .22 primer. When contact is made, the primer goes off, igniting the black powder. Not only does this make a small explosive hollow point, it can balloon inside the target, causing devastating damage. The rounds from Emax Tactical were incredibly powerful and absolutely did the trick on target. While they weren't enough to penetrate my ceramite targets, the energy transfer was insane. I would not be surprised at all that if struck, any target hit by a bolt round would be staggered or knocked down. When it comes to penetration and lethality, these rounds are extremely impressive. On the Flautermouse channel, a deflected shot to a flak helmet caved the helmet in and looked like it would have fractured the skull and scrambled the target's brains. On my own Stormtrooper Carapace helmet, the rounds easily went through the eye socket and cheek armor, detonating on the backside of the helmet. I did get more samples from my local Magos biologist, and he gave me some Orc and Tyranid samples for this shoot. The Orc tissue samples show impressive reactions to the bolt rounds, but let's talk about that race first, as Orcs are effectively a fungal bioweapon. More than 60 million years ago, the Milky Way was populated by only a few ancient races. The old ones were warp beings who tended to the galaxy like a garden. The Catan were star gods who fed on the energy of the mortal plane, and their servants were the Necrons. The Catan and Necrons declared a war on the Old Ones and hunted them ruthlessly. While repulsed by war, the Old Ones created two races to defend themselves: the physically frail but psychically sensitive Eldar and the physically powerful but psychically dull Krork. These races battled in what was known as the War in Heaven. The Old Ones were hunted to near extinction, the Catan were enslaved by the Necrons, the Eldar became the rulers apparent of the galaxy, and the Krork devolved into the Orc. This devolution was a product of their design. They were a weapon of war created out of desperation, and that desperation made them deadly but unwieldy. Orcs' fungal spores can be transported to a planet by any organism that encounters them. Once the spores find a supportive climate, they root into the ground, absorbing light and minerals to grow their spawn. Orc forms will gestate in a subterranean cocoon until they mature, at which point they will spawn from the earth and begin to wreak havoc. Orcoid cocoons will birth orcs, squigs, and Gretchen, and can be cultivated intentionally by an orc clan. Once sufficient in number, the orcs will begin raiding nearby outposts and putting together ramshackle weapons and vehicles. From this, their clan will grow until it becomes a Waaagh. Waaghs are teeming hordes of warriors throwing themselves at any enemy they can find. Waaghs will need to be culled, will burn out from infighting, or will spread to other planets via slapdash fleets of scavenged ships. Orcs seem to show no fear of death, and some of them believe that if they die well in battle, their gods Gork and Mork will preserve their souls and give them rebirth to fight again. Unfortunately for this Orcoid cocoon, the Magos biologist gave it to me for disposal with impressive results. Even with contact detonation rounds, I'm effectively able to blast the cocoon apart, spraying the range with embryonic fluid. Orc flesh does little better and shows off the damage possible from these rounds. The first round is a central hit that enters the flesh and explodes, pulping the interior of the target. The energy transfer is insane, lifting the target and throwing it several feet back. A second shot glances the target, but even then blows a chunk of the target out and sends it spinning. A third shot blows a softball-sized wound channel into the target. If you're being charged by thousands of 800-pound green howling maniacs, you would want a bolter over an AR-15. Which brings us to our Tyranid samples and an exotic bolter round. The Tyranid hive mind is an extragalactic race of aliens with a single goal: to devour. Tyranids will infiltrate planets, scout them to discover where the most valuable resources are, and then descend on them like locusts. There are a variety of combat forms that will scour the surface of all sapient life as sporicist constructs pump the air full of spores and gases that make the atmosphere itself consumable. Once all resistance is slaughtered and the planet ready for consumption, every organic and synthetic molecule of any value will be digested in acid pits and pumped into the fleet via tendrils. Monstrous aliens will calmly walk into the pits, allowing themselves to be consumed back into the hive mind, to be reborn again on a distant battlefield. The Magos biologist gave me 2 samples of fledgling Tyranid spore. Mycetic spores are heavily armored and when fully grown will be the size of an armored vehicle. They are filled with Tyranid combat forms and then dropped from orbit down onto the planetary surface. Once they crash into the ground, they will disgorge their occupants into fresh slaughter. While only a fledgling sample, the bolt round rips through the armor of the mycetic spore and bursts its innards. Buccolid spore mines are brainless if dangerous opponents. They drift across the battlefield sensing any non-Tyranid life form. Once they feel one, they will erupt in a shower of bioacidic plasma, melting anything unfortunate enough to be caught in its blast. For this one, I busted out the worm's breath shell, ripping it apart and scorching the insides. Bolt rounds are already considered valuable, powerful, and revered weapons, but there are even more specialist ammunition used by Space Marine veterans and the Death Watch. Hellfire rounds replace their cores with Tyranid acid. Inferno bolt rounds have payloads that carry white phosphorus and promethium. Kraken penetrators have an adamantium core to help with armor piercing. Vengeance rounds have a combination of penetrators and increased explosives in order to pierce ceramite armor, making them ideal against Chaos Space Marines. The Deathwatch in particular like to carry bolters and shotguns that are designed to easily feed different kinds of ammunition depending on the target. Like a Kraken can be used to punch through cover, followed by a Worm's Breath round to burn the target behind. Now I'm going to keep building science fiction weapons and making videos related to them. We're probably halfway done with the Halo Magnum pistol, and after that we'll be working on the battle rifle, but the truth is these projects are expensive and time consuming. If you like this video and want to help, join us at patreon.com/counterpoints, where I'll also be posting the STL files. Now, I'm going to do my outro and then just play some video of us blowing stuff up without music and without commentary, so those 1 or 2 people who need some lullaby music have something to listen to. But before you go, if you want to support the channel, please remember to like the video, subscribe, ring the bell for new videos, and comment for the comment gods. Your viewership alone helps me in the algorithm and is appreciated. If you want to take your support a bit further, please become a YouTube member or join us at patreon.com/counterpoints. Check out the other videos on the channel, support our sponsors. I'll catch you in the next one. Until the end.
Ha 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 ha!